Hey, gamers and game developers. Welcome back to the channel. Whether you're coding, designing, or just enjoying your favorite games, today we are going to break down some essential game development terms you absolutely need to know. From basic game modes to more technical lingo, we'll cover it all, and by the end of this video, you'll be a game dev vocabulary pro. Let's dive in. PvP. Let's start with PvP, which stands for player versus player. This is when players compete directly against each other instead of playing against AI-controlled enemies. In PvP, it's all about testing your skills against other real-life players, which makes every match unique. A good example of PvP is League of Legends, where players form teams and battle each other in a strategic, skill-based competition. Every match is different depending on the player's strategies and decisions. PvE. Now, let's talk about PvE, or player versus environment. Unlike PvP, PvE focuses on players battling against the game world or computer-controlled enemies rather than other players. PvE is great for solo play or cooperative multiplayer, where you work together to take on challenges. In The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, Geralt, the main character, faces off against monsters, bandits, and other dangers in the environment. You fight against the game's world and story, not against other players. Co-op play. Co-op play, or cooperative play, is all about working together with other players to achieve a common goal. It's a cooperative experience where each player has their role, and success depends on teamwork. One of the best examples of co-op play is Overcooked. In this chaotic cooking game, you and your friends must work together to prepare meals in a fast-paced kitchen. If one person messes up, the whole team can fail. Teamwork is the key. MMO. MMO stands for Massively Multiplayer Online, and it's a genre where thousands of players interact in a persistent online world. These games are huge in scope and allow you to explore vast worlds, take on quests, and interact with people from all over the globe. Think World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV. In these games, you can team up with other players for epic quests, battle enemies, and even participate in massive world events, all while living in a constantly evolving game world. RPG. RPG stands for Role-Playing Game. In RPGs, you take on the role of a character in a fictional world. You make decisions that influence the game's story, and your character usually grows stronger over time, often by completing quests, gaining experience, and leveling up. In Skyrim, you play as the Dragonborn, a hero who must save the world. As you explore, you make choices that impact the game's story, from what quests you take to how you interact with other characters. FPS Games. Next is FPS Games, or first-person shooter. FPS games focus on combat with firearms and other ranged weapons. The key here is the perspective. You experience the game from the character's viewpoint, as if you're holding the weapon yourself. Call of Duty is a perfect example of an FPS game, where you shoot and fight through levels or multiplayer matches, all from the first-person perspective. Hack and slash games. Now let's look at hack and slash games. This is a type of game where the focus is on fast, action-packed combat, usually with melee weapons like swords or axes. The gameplay often revolves around defeating large groups of enemies quickly and efficiently. Diablo 3 is a great example. In this game, you hack and slash your way through hordes of enemies, leveling up and collecting loot as you go. It's all about fast combat and upgrading your character's abilities. Battle Royale games. Battle Royale is a relatively new genre where a large number of players fight to be the last one standing. Typically, these games feature a shrinking play zone, forcing players to fight and survive against each other. Think of it as a high-stakes, last-man-standing survival challenge. Fortnite and PUBG are famous examples of Battle Royale games. You start with nothing, loot for gear, and fight until only one player or team remains. Loot box. A loot box is an in-game item that gives you random rewards, like skins, weapons, or characters. Players can unlock or purchase these boxes, but what you get is completely random. Some games allow players to earn loot boxes for free, while others offer them as paid content. Games like Overwatch use loot boxes to unlock cosmetic items, such as character skins or emotes. The excitement comes from the randomness. Will you get a rare skin, or something you already have? Open world games. Open world games give you a massive world to explore, often with no set path or linear progression. These games allow players to explore freely and choose how they want to play, whether that's completing missions, discovering secrets, or just wandering the landscape. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild is a prime example of an open world game. You can roam freely across the vast world, climbing mountains, exploring forests, and taking on quests at your own pace. Prototype. A prototype is an early version of a game or feature, often made to test ideas, mechanics, or designs. Prototypes are usually rough and not fully polished but are crucial for understanding whether a concept works before committing resources to a full version. Minecraft started as a basic prototype. The developer, Marcus Persson, created a simple version of the game to test the core mechanics of building and exploration before it became the massive success it is today. Pre-production. Pre-production is the planning phase of game development. This is where concepts are developed, game mechanics are tested, and the overall vision of the game is shaped. Think of it as the blueprint stage before the real work begins. During pre-production, games like Cyberpunk 2077 go through intense planning, where artists, designers, and writers collaborate to shape the game world, story, and mechanics before development starts. Post-production. Post-production comes after the game is mostly developed. This is where the final touches are put on the game, including bug fixing, optimization, and polishing the visuals. The goal is to get everything ready for release and ensure players have a smooth experience. For a big release like The Last of Us Part 2, post-production includes testing, bug fixes, and making sure the game runs well across different platforms before it's shipped to players. Game state. Game state refers to the current condition or status of a game at any given moment. It tracks important factors like the player's progress, health, inventory, and the state of the environment. In The Witcher 3, your game state includes your level, completed quests, items you have in your inventory, and the NPCs you've interacted with. This data helps the game remember where you left off. Respawn. Finally, let's talk about respawning. In many games, when a player dies, they're given a second chance to continue playing by respawning, coming back to life at a set location, often after a few seconds of waiting. In Apex Legends, if you die, your teammates can revive you, bringing you back into the game. This adds a strategic layer, where players have to balance risk and reward. And there you have it, your ultimate game development glossary. From battle modes to game mechanics, these terms are essential for understanding how the gaming world works. Hopefully, you are feeling more confident about these terms now. But wait, this is just the first part. In our next video, we'll dive deeper into even more terms every gamer and developer should know, so stay tuned for part 2. Like, comment, and subscribe for part 2.